Hey everyone, welcome back to the course. So in the last video, we just took a look at the course introduction. So we talked about the overall course objectives, which again, the main one is actually just learning what HIPAA is and why it's important. And then also we're going to be learning about the SRA tool. We'll get some hands-on experience with that. We also talked about myself as your instructor. So who am I? Who's this crazy guy giving you this fun course on HIPAA? Who gets excited about HIPAA, right? And then we also talked about the course structure as well. So in this video, we're going to talk about what HIPAA is. We're going to talk about the importance of it. We'll kind of break things down like the different titles of HIPAA, just so you can get a better understanding of what HIPAA is completely. So just a quick pre-assessment question. Anyone in healthcare out there should hopefully be able to get this correct. So what does the acronym HIPAA stand for? All right, so if you guessed answer D as in dog, you are correct. It stands for the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. You will see people spelling it HIPPA. I'm still not sure what that actually stands for. I've been trying to determine that for several years now, but that is incorrect. So if you see it as HIPPA, that is incorrect. The correct answer is going to be HIPAA. That's the actual acronym. So what is HIPAA? Well, I already mentioned what it stands for. It was passed back in 1996, and basically it required Health and Human Services to create regulations that protect your health information. And when we talk about health information, we're talking about things like PHI, so protected health information, and PII, personally identifiable information. So think of your date of birth, social security number. Think of like a chart number that's linked back to your social security number. Think about a certain surgical procedure that, lists like your name or some kind of other identifying information. So all that fun stuff that basically would allow me to figure out you got your left leg cut off, or that you've got an STD or something like that. That's what we're trying to protect here. So that way people like me, well, I wouldn't do it, but people with nefarious intent can't get your information and go ahead and use it. And we've got different titles of HIPAA. So we've got titles 1 through 5. We'll talk about those in just a second. And then with those will help us jump into the next part where we talk about like the security rule and privacy rule. And the overarching goal of HIPAA is basically keeping, as I mentioned, the nefarious people or just people in general that shouldn't get your health information, keeping them from getting that information. Also helping to protect it from people that may accidentally just give it out. You've got people that don't have common sense out there, even though that should be a standard thing in life. So basically HIPAA is there to protect your health information from all of those types of people, whether they've got nefarious intent or whether they're just accidentally sharing your health information with the world. So I mentioned title. So Title 1 here is a focus on healthcare access, portability, and renewability. So mostly this one focused on people that, back in the day before HIPAA, if you lost or changed your job, a lot of times your coverage, you couldn't get continuing coverage. So basically you had a period of time before your new job's coverage took effect. And so if, little Susie, your daughter, got sick and went to the doctor, you had to pay all that out of pocket. So we basically passed this to allow people that if you lose or change your job, there's going to be some kind of coverage. That's an option for you. So that way you can get a thing called COBRA, essentially, and it allows you to have some measure of health insurance until your new stuff kicks in. It also, Title I also put some stipulations in place, so basically it limited the restrictions that group health plans had on pre-existing conditions. So the essential limitations there on that, group healthcare coverage can only refuse benefits that relate to pre-existing conditions for 12 months after enrollment or 18 months, if it's like a late enrollment. So basically they can't like deny you forever is what that means. Also, as I mentioned, it covers, credible coverage. So basically, that's essentially all groups of health plans, so things like Medicare, Medicaid, or like your individual, private insurance plans. It also defined a significant break as any 63-day period. So that way you know what that means when they talk about the individual going without coverage. That's kind of the stipulation there, a 63-day period. And it also allowed, one thing, it also allowed your premiums to be tied to, and a lot of employers were happy about this, and whatever your particular view is on it. But basically it allowed your premiums to be tied to avoiding the use of like things like tobacco or having a healthy BMI or body mass index, if you don't know what that is. So basically if you're a healthier person, you could potentially get lower premiums. That's kind of what that did for you. And then we have Title II. So basically Title II established the privacy and security for the personally identifiable information, so your health information, the PHI and PII. And it also outlined what the civil and criminal penalties are. So we talk about the security and privacy rules. That's the main thing inside of Title II. And then, of course, along with the security rule, we're protecting electronic PHI. And then, as I mentioned, it's basically set the civil and criminal penalties. So we'll talk about that a little later on. As far as like the actual monetary values and that sort of stuff as part of HIPAA. But just know that Title II, if you get asked a question on it on some exam someplace with your employer or whatever, just know that Title II is going to be security and privacy rules, and just understand that that's going to be basically established to protect your information. Title II also created programs to help control the fraud and abuse, and it also added administrative simplification rules as well. Then we have Title III, so that's where we start talking about. And then we have Title II, so this is where we established the protection for your personally identifiable information, your protected health information. So essentially this title set the criminal and civil penalties as well. So of course the security privacy rules, and we'll talk about those a little more in just a little bit, but it also set specific civil and criminal penalties for any violations of that. So if you see out there in the news a lot, you'll see, oh, they hit, this company X with a, $2 million fine or whatever for, losing somebody's health information or selling it or whatever the case might be. That's where Title II comes into play. It actually sets the specific monetary values as well as the criminal upper end and lower end sentencing that can be done for any violations. We then have Title III. So Title III is all around tax-related health provisions that govern the medical savings account. So again, I talked about the HSAs. So that's where this comes into play. So most people are familiar with the health spending accounts, or, might be called like flexible spending accounts. Many different names out there. Essentially what it does is it allows you to put away pre-tax dollars into essentially what's a medical savings account. And then from there, you can take that money and use it for things like, premiums. You can use it for, paying your doctor out of pocket, paying for procedures, etc. Think of it like a special savings account, so to speak. The difference being that you can't, basically most of them are use or lose, right? So if I put, $20,000 away in mine throughout the year, but I never use any of it, I essentially am losing that money. Like I don't, there's some instances where you can roll it over into different things. That's outside the scope of this course. But for the most part, if you put it in there and you don't use it, you lose it. And of course, you get the pre-tax advantage. So that's why, they put it in place. Otherwise, I'm sure people, and I'm, stuck in way like their retirement savings into the HSA and getting all excited because they don't have to pay taxes. We then have Title IV. So Title IV basically just specifies conditions for group health plans. So again, this one kind of does a deeper dive into pre-existing conditions. And then, it also mentions about COBRA. So it gives some clarification surrounding COBRA. If you don't know what COBRA is, basically if I lose my job or if I quit my job, at least here in the United States, I'm able to sign up for what's called COBRA insurance, and that gives me some coverage. Of course, it costs more, but it gives me some coverage until my new insurance policy takes effect. There's generally a period of time that you're allowed to do COBRA for. I forget exactly what the period is as of the filming of this video, but just understand that you have a short period of time to go ahead and get your coverage and use it, and then hopefully your new employer's coverage takes effect. Title V is basically applying to employers. It gives provisions for company-owned life insurance for the employers. So basically, it prohibits tax deduction of interest on life insurance loans, things like company endowments or contracts related to the company. So, as with any legislation, somebody was doing it the wrong way, and, they put legislation in place to prevent that, or at least mitigate that to some capacity. It also discusses people that will give up U.S. citizenship or permanent residence, basically trying to avoid taxes. So this Title V covers that as well. So basically it expands what's called the expatriation tax. So that way, if you're trying to give up your citizenship just to avoid taxes, Uncle Sam's still going to get you, essentially is what the gist of all that is. And the other thing it did regarding the ex-citizens is basically it puts their names as part of a public record through basically it's the creation of the quarterly publication of individuals who have chosen to expatriate. So basically this allowed the government to publish your name in that quarterly publication. and basically say like, hey, here's this person that's an expatriate now. So if you were trying to be sneaky and hide from an ex-wife and avoid taxes at the same time, your ex-wife could potentially find you now. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video there. So in this video, so far, we've covered the 5 titles of HIPAA. We also talked about what HIPAA is. And in the next video, we're going to move through and start talking about the security and privacy rules. We're also going to talk about the different penalties related to HIPAA.